Issue 34, Stormbringer magazine. Paint reinforcement issue, Incubi Darkness and Null Oil. Null Oil in particular is known as liquid talent, but it's not my talent that's important, it's yours. Tell me in the comments below, how is your painting project going? Hello and welcome to the Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and today we're going to be doing issue 34 of our continuing series of Hachette's Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Now this magazine comes with two new paints, both interesting ones actually. Incubi Darkness is one I've used a lot and is actually quite a good paint if you wanted to kind of do edge highlighting on black models. And Null Oil, of course, is known famously as essentially liquid talent. It is especially useful for metallic aspects or metallic paints and kind of giving them a nice depth and shadow. So the good thing, of course, usually about these issues is that it allows, because it's paint based, it allows you to focus on the lore. Now this issue is a little different because you've got, especially with Null Oil, it's going to focus on using it effectively, but nevertheless you do get some interesting lore. So we have here the Grand Alliance of Death. Now Nagash is an entire faction in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. He's basically the Lord of the Dead, and he's a bit annoyed, so he's using the dead to kind of conquer the mortal realms. And even if you die, unless you're a Stormcast Eternal, he's going to grab you and he's going to enlist you in his armies. So it's, how do I put it, you don't get to rest like you would hope to. You have Nagash himself, who was happy to come in and fight on the ground. You have the Bone Legions, which have a really cool kind of bone grating and bone sound, so you can hear their approach. You have the Spectral Hosts, which are basically souls that have been stripped of everything but their hatred. And you have the Rotten Muscle, which are essentially cannibals and flesh tearers, which are kind of zombie, vampire, monster things that just go mad. So Nagash is not one of the cool kids you want to hang out with. You have the Gloomspite Gits collection, so this is a really nice little thing that you can kind of, you get extra names for your Gloomspite Gits, and of course you roll the dice and you get your little name. So it's a fun little thing to name your models. So you have 2 pages of that. And the paint guide in this issue now is more elaborate, so it shows you how to use it, and pretty much in all the models that you have so far. So if you're following the paint guide on Hachette's magazine quite well, it allows you to touch up all the bits and pieces here on practically every model you have. And there's also goes into corrections and tidying, and the use of Null Oil on the forces of order. So things unlike, say, your shields or the scale armor on their actual armor. So it's a very useful paint because it does give you a little extra touch, and it just makes the models look that little bit better. So as you can see here, it allows you to touch on everything, both in the forces of order and in the forces of chaos. You have some more rules. You have the Monstrous Rampages, which is kind of more rules based again, and the Power Unleashed, which is basically a faction fight over 3 victory points, or control objectives I should say. And that is everything in issue 34. Not the most exciting issue in the world, but if you're someone who is collecting the magazine and using the paints with it, these are 2 very good paints to get. So Null Oil, for anyone who does paint a lot of Warhammer, is a paint you will use up quite well. And Incubi Darkness actually, again, is a paint that I find quite useful, especially for edge highlighting on dark models. So for example, the Gits that I had painted before, I had given them just an off shade of green on, say, the knees or the elbows or the edges of the robes with Incubi Darkness. So it breaks up the black and the dark a little bit, and of course it's a base color, so it's not something you have to apply an awful lot. So that was issue 34 of Warhammer Stormbringer magazine. Join us for issue 35. So until then, good luck, God bless, and stay safe.